Got no cash, got no style, ain't got no girl to make you smile, but don't worry.
Um, so hello everyone. So your instructor should be here now. She just sent a message, so she'll be arriving shortly. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to today's class. So, your instructor just joined. That is Dorinda. Hi, Dorinda. If you can hear me, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I can hear you.
Oh, all right, that's perfect. So, welcome to today's class. Thank you so much for making out time to be here.
Thank you.
All right. So currently everyone is muted. If they have questions to ask when you teach, they'll be dropping their questions in the chat and I can call your attention to the questions. Then if time permits at the end of the class, they can still raise their hands and ask questions. Hope that works well with you.
Yes, that works.
All right. So class is all yours.
All right. Thank you. So hello, everybody. Like Nwamaka said, my name is Dorinda. I'm a product manager, and I'm happy to be here today. I think the topic we are looking at today is effective communication for products managers. And I'm hoping that this would be more of an interactive session, a discussion. So whenever you have any thoughts or anything, just drop them in the chat and then we will look at it after I'm done with the presentation. So I'll go ahead now and share my screen. It seems I need access to share the screen.
Go ahead and share your screen now. You now have access.
Okay. Okay, this is taking a bit of time. Let me just get the right screen and then we'll go ahead. Okay. Just a minute. I need to authenticate this on my machine for Zoom. So let me just go ahead and grant access. All right. Let me attempt sharing again. Sorry, a bit of technical challenges here. I haven't tried sharing via Zoom in a while. So this is a new machine. So it's asking me for certain permissions. Nwamaka, are you able to share from your side? Can I drop this file for you? This is.
So, Dorinda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so if you leave again, you have to leave then join again, then you can share your screen.
Okay, let me try that.
All right.
All right, so I'll be back in a jiffy.
Okay. Okay. Where is she? Okay, so she's back again. So, hi, Dorida. If you can hear me, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm back now. Sorry for the delay.
All right.
It appears I need to quit and reopen again. Zoom is asking me to quit before I can share. Okay, let's do this one at a time. Sorry for the delay.
All right. So you can unmute yourself. Is it working?
Yes. This appears to be working.
Okay.
All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Great. So we're in business now, we can start. So like I said during my introduction, today we are looking at effective communication for product managers. And I'm assuming that we or all of us have been through maybe some, or we have some knowledge about what product management is, and its role in application development. And that's how come today we are focusing on effective communication. So as product managers, one of the very big aspects of what we do is communication. In gathering requirements and telling the team what we need to build, in communicating with different types of stakeholders. Communication is a big part of that. And knowing what to communicate, knowing the medium to communicate it through, and getting feedback is essential, because it differentiates us from maybe a mediocre or bad product manager. It differentiates that from a good product manager. So Product Plan had a survey of one of the important skills that people think is important for product management. And communication skills had about 50% of the skills that people think is important. So if you look at all other soft skills and technical skills that product managers need, communication skills has been identified as one of the things that is very, very important for product managers, since you are sort of the glue that is connecting a lot of different departments, different stakeholders, and different people. So knowing how to communicate and communicate effectively is very important to doing your job. Now, what is effective communication? 3 principles you can look at to know that you're communicating effectively is reciprocity, the medium in which you communicate, and then the context that you use. So reciprocity, you can think of it as you're communicating to somebody. Are you hearing something back? Are you receiving feedback? And that's how you know that you are communicating effectively, or whatever you're saying is something that people are listening to and they are understanding and acting on it. When it comes to the medium of communication today, there are a lot of mediums available to us, and it's important as a product manager to identify which medium works best for every type of audience that you are communicating to. So for instance, you are communicating your product goals or product vision. Which medium would you choose? Will you choose a doc, an online tool like Notion to communicate it, or will you choose a slide to communicate the product vision? So these are various things that we need to understand, and it will help us know and be effective in our communication with other people. The context, which is the last one for identifying effective communication, is to know the background of maybe an issue, the background that you're looking at, and then you'll be able to identify the context in which you should be communicating whatever it is that you want to tell other people. So I decided to structure this in terms of the various people that we communicate with, and then take us through how to communicate effectively with these different groups of people. So the first one is communicating effectively with customers and external stakeholders. So with customers, as a product manager, one of the things that you do is speak to customers, discover their pain points, discover their problems, and that is what helps you to know what you're going to build next. It helps you to know what problems you should be solving next. So first thing, gathering requirements is very important. And as a product manager, you just don't need to know how to gather requirements, but you should know how to gather the right requirements. So if you go to a customer and then you tell them, oh, what should we build for you? They are going to tell you a lot of things. They're going to give you a wish list. But as an effective communicator, as a great product manager, you want to be able to go to that person and then listen to their whole story about the context they are working in, the kind of environment they are working in. So the kind of problems they have. Through that conversation is how you'll be able to come up with, you yourself are going to see the pain points they have and then the problems your product needs to solve. But if you go to the customer and ask them, what they need. Sometimes they might throw you off. They might give you something that is just a wish list. You would build that thing and they'll end up not using it. So it's very important that as a product manager, you really dig deep to understand the requirements that you're gathering, identify those right requirements so that you don't go back to engineers and give them the wrong things to build. The other kind of communication you would need to give to customers or external stakeholders. When I talk about external stakeholders, this could be regulatory partners, maybe media and other people that you communicate with as a product manager. Communicating the product value. So one thing is sometimes when we build features for a product, it's very important that our customers are able to know the benefits of those features with us. Otherwise, we will build them and they will end up not using it. So one very important thing to do is to communicate the product value or the benefit to the customer as they should know it. Otherwise, it will end up being a feature that other people will not use and you'd have wasted all your time on building it. So a way to communicate product value as a product manager, sometimes we do send release notes. It's sort of a kick, but some people still read it. And that's a way to get it across. But if you want to get people to convert your customers, you've released a new feature, you want to convert customers to use that new feature, then sometimes you'd use tools like Intercom in the app to introduce the feature to your customers. One way you could also do it is to sort of create product tours, which introduces the feature and then takes customers through how they can use the feature that you've just built. So these cues and things go a long way to helping customers know what they need to, how they can use the feature, and then also communicates the value to them well. Now, in communicating with customers and external stakeholders, one thing you need to do as a product manager is to be very consistent. Customers always want things like today. If somebody is having a problem, they talk to you today and they want the feature to be released today. Now, as a product manager, it's your job to make sure that you communicate timelines very well and don't. So if you try to please the customer too much, a feature that you know very well is going to take a month, or even you couldn't anticipate it. You said it was going to take 2 weeks. Now, in 2 weeks, the customer comes back and they are hounding you for that feature. If you're not able to manage expectations, these sometimes lead to customers losing trust in you, or your users losing trust in you. So it's very important that as product managers, we prove reliable and consistent in our communication. We make sure that whatever that we are telling customers is something that we are sure that we can deliver on. And then if you know that you are not going to be able to deliver on something, it's very good that you are proactive in telling the customer that this and this is why we are not going to be able to do this, and that you can expect this feature to be released at this time now. It's very important that we manage communications as we go. We manage expectations as we go along. Okay, so that's it about customers, communicating with customers. If you have any questions around this, you can share it and then in the chat, and we'll visit it later. Okay, so the next group of people we will be talking about is communicating effectively with management and internal stakeholders. Now, communicating with management is something that is very, very vital to your role as a product manager. Now, if you're not able to communicate well with management, that is when management feels that they need to come in to tell you, the product manager, what you need to build. Now, if you have organizations where executives or top management is the one directing what should be built, then you have a product that is just a group of features that people think might work for customers, and not anything that is driven by data or anything that is really relevant to the customer. So you need to be able to communicate effectively with your management and internal stakeholders, such that they can trust you, they can trust your product vision and goals as well. So some of the things or some of the ways through which you communicate with management is to communicate your product vision and your product goals. So for instance, we are entering Q4, right? So Q4 of this year, you know that these are the product goals you're looking at. Your product vision is like the product picture of what the products will be achieving in the long term. Now, your goals are sometimes they could be short-term or long-term goals. So maybe for a quarter, you have some short-term goals that you're looking at meeting at the end of the quarter. And then for the long term, at the end of the year, this is what you want to achieve. Now, in communicating your product goals, you want to make sure that you are not communicating features that you're going to build to management, because sometimes all you need to communicate is the goal that you're trying to meet. So sometimes management or people who sit in different branches of the company, for instance, finance, operations, they have a language they speak in. So for instance, for finance, what they are looking at is revenue. Now, if you can structure your goal to talk about the impacts that an initiative you're going to take or a feature you're going to build is the impact is going to have on revenue, then you'll be communicating effectively with them, because that is when they can understand how your work will impact theirs. But if you go to somebody in finance and you're communicating that you're going to build maybe a payment gateway, or you're going to integrate with some APIs, you know what it's going to do, but they do not understand what that feature is going to do for them. So what you have to do as a product manager is communicate those product goals well in the language that they understand, and also make sure that it is not just a list of features you're giving them, but is something that you're communicating in terms of, at the end of Q4, maybe we would have an 80% increase in customer retention due to this and this initiative that we'll be embarking on. Now, achievements and successes. So as a product manager, after you've worked on a couple of features, you want to communicate to management what those features resulted in. So if we take it, for instance, that a whole year you're working on a bunch of features, and at the end of the year, management just knows that we worked on X number of features. In the end, it didn't communicate how that impacted on the company or what that meant for the company. So you need to tell a story about how this and this features that you have built have communicated and have led to some successes for the business, or some achievements that you have chalked as a product team. So if you can say that, because maybe you are building an e-commerce app, and you can say that because we introduced a similar items section where customers who are buying one item can look at the similar item section and add more. Because you introduced this similar item section, it's led to maybe a 50% increase in basket size. Customers bought 50% more than they were doing before. If you can communicate this, it's better than communicating that we built a similar items feature. What does that mean for anybody? But if you communicate the success and the impact on some other things, then it makes people understand why you're building certain features and the impact it's having. So the last one is new releases and milestones. New things that you're building, it's good to share with stakeholders so that they know what's coming and what has been done. and then they can share in your successes and milestones as well. So the last part I'll be talking about is communicating effectively with engineers, your team, and designers. So engineers as well, it's very important that we communicate the product vision and goals with engineers. So some people just think that they can come to engineers with a list of requirements of things to build, and that's it. But if you can tell the product vision and the goals, the things you're trying to achieve to engineers, it will bring them along with you. It will give them a sense of purpose in what they are building, and they'll be more vested in what they are doing. So it's very important that as a product manager, you communicate the product vision and the goals to engineers. Now, the second thing is to emphasize the problem the team is solving. So sometimes as a PM, you need to write requirements or a set of requirements for engineers to build. Now, if you're writing these requirements and you write them in the form of features or things that you think that customers need, and you don't write the problem that you're actually solving, sometimes you will end up building things that are not exactly what the customer wants. So if you came to engineers and then you told them that a customer is facing problem X, Y, Z, then the engineers will be able to sometimes brainstorm and come up with certain solutions that would better suit the problem, or that will better solve the problem. But then if you come with solutions, you will find that always you build things that will not really solve the problems that customers are solving. So I think a CTO I had used to say that his engineers are not typists, or they are not just there to code. They need to understand the problem you're trying to solve, and they need to brainstorm and come up with the solutions. It's not your job as a PM to come up with the solutions. It's your job to identify the problem and then bring it to the team, and you discuss it, you brainstorm, and then come up with the best fit solution for customers. A third way to effectively communicate with engineers is to minimize changing requirements and misunderstandings. So for instance, let's take it that you are in sprint planning. You all decided on something that you wanted to do. And then in the course of the sprint, you come up with a different requirement. You come up with something else that you think that you should be working on. Now, I think that is one very big developer peeve. Is something they don't want to, because imagine you started working on something and then somebody comes and then says, no, let's stop this, let's do it this other way. That is very, very annoying. So if you want developers to go along with you, if you're not sure of the requirements that you need during sprint planning, then it's better to hold on to it and make sure that you are really sure before you put it in the sprint, instead of putting the items in the sprint and then the sprint starts and then you go back and tell engineers that, oh, let's change it this way. Sometimes, in very rare situations, these things can come up, but it's your job to make sure that you minimize these things, that they occur very rarely, because people will lose confidence in you if you should always come with one requirement and then later change your mind and say we should build it this way. Also, the next thing is to involve developers early and negotiate about details. So as a PM, it's very important that you're able to tell the story. And also, if you can use a tool like Miro, Visio to sort of draw what's the process you're looking at, the various scenarios you're looking at, or whatever it is in the context that you're looking at, it will go a long way to help developers on deciding what the solution should be. I think a while ago, we were trying to build a feature, and even though we had gone through all the scenarios, everything that we needed to, that feature was supposed to solve. Now it was time, the engineer had finished working on it, finally pushed the solution. we tested and realized, no, this doesn't meet all the scenarios. This doesn't work for us. Now, imagine that if I couldn't go back and pick up that scenario document and show it to them and say, hey, this is what I had in the requirements. The feature was supposed to meet all these scenarios and not just some. Now, it would have been my word against theirs. And it would have been a lot of back and forth. But looking at this, now the engineer had to go back and then request for help from other people, thinking through all those scenarios and how to build to solve for those scenarios as well. So it's very important that whatever you're thinking of, you're able to communicate it well to engineers, involve them early in the process in identifying the problem and then the solution so that everybody is very clear on what you need to build. The last but not the least, I think a very important point that we need to look at is to bring data to the table. Now, if you're talking to engineers and then you say, okay, we need to build XYZ just because the customer says so, that doesn't really help anybody in getting excited about the feature you are building or getting them to really be vested in whatever that you're doing. But if you can come and say that, okay, we noticed that 70% of customers abandon the cart when they get to checkout, right? Then because maybe you're using an analytics tool like Mixpanel, any other tool, Amplitude or Hotjar, then you are able to see and you were able to discover that, okay, this 70% of our customers abandon the cart when they get to checkout. Now it means that there should be a problem at checkout, or we need to investigate why this is happening. If you're able to put this before engineers, it's something that gets them excited, gets them to think through, okay, what problem could be occurring here? Is it that some of our payment options are not working, or what could be going wrong on checkout? So it's something that is very important that as PMs we do to make sure that if you've built a product and you don't have any analytics tool built in that is able to tell you what customers are doing, or is able to give you quantitative data on what is actually happening, then it means that you'll be running blindly because you built a number of features and you're not able to tell whether customers are using it, what is really happening in terms of success for those features. It's very essential that as PMs, you have some sort of analytics built into your product and you can report on these analytics. And then this data can also drive future product decisions. Because if you don't have any data and you're speaking to whether it's engineers or internal stakeholders, it makes it very difficult to convince people that this is what we need to do. Because this is what the data is saying. If you come and then you're just using your intuition to tell people that they should build this, it's very difficult to get people to go along with you. So data is one way that as PMs, you can use to influence, people. So as PMs, make sure that every time that you're communicating something, you're bringing data to the table. If you don't have the data, dig for it, find it, and make sure that it's part of whatever you're communicating to your developers and then engineers as well. In terms of, so all these things I said goes for designers as well. If you're working with a UI UX designer, it's equally important that we engage them early, because as a PM, I think your designer is one of your best friends, because in discovering the problem, he's the one who is going to be going around with you, talking to customers, because they also need to discover the problem with you. And then you need to be able to come and sit down and write maybe product requirement document for the designer to work with, explaining all the different scenarios, explaining everything that they need to know so that they are able to create a user experience that really works for your customer. So design is not just a putting boxes somewhere, but for every customer or every group of customers that you're working with, if you're able to discover the kind of customers you're working with, you know that these people are, they are savvy, they are computer savvy. They will be able to use this if we build it this way. If we build it this way, they are not too good with computers, they can't use it. So it's something that you need to work with your designer on and make sure that they also have every data that is important at their fingertip. And they also know your customers just as you know them, and they are able to design a user experience that is fit for your customers. So we've talked about 3 groups of people that you would be communicating with as a product manager: your team, your engineers, your designers, your internal stakeholders and management, and then with customers and then external stakeholders. So all these 3 groups of people are people that you'll be communicating with. And it's very important that as a PM, you're able to conquer communication or able to effectively communicate with all these groups of people. It will either make or break you as a PM. So tips for effective product management communication: it's important that we tell a story. So if I am talking to, for instance, the whole company, we are doing a product demo in the company, and I can tell a story about how certain group of customers had this problem, and we were able to discover a solution that led to this and this success for our customers. That tells a beautiful story and brings everybody along with you and helps them picture what you're saying well. But if you come and then you just throw features or we built XYZ without telling them why, without giving it a background or a story, it doesn't stick in people's mind. It doesn't even make people want to, your salespeople, your marketing people want to tell other people about it and evangelize the product. And the second thing, which is very important, like I said, is to use data in always telling your story. Use data in always communicating to different stakeholders. So your management and your team, it's very important that data is an integral part of your communication. Every day in whatever kind of communication that we have with these people, whether it's meetings, presentation, product demos, we make sure that data is a part of it. And then when they know that it's data that is driving your decisions, people are able to trust you as a PM. People are able to come to you and they know that you're a source of information, you're one source of truth that we can come to. And we know that whatever you're giving us, it's not just something that you're asking on based on intuition, but it's something that is being driven by data. As a PM, the last thing I want to talk about is always asking for feedback. So in whatever interactions you're having, you want to make sure that you're always asking for feedback from your customers. You pushed out feature XYZ. Sometimes you do have analytics to track usage for it, but it's also important that you're asking your customers how what they think about the feature, how it's helping them, and then the kind of interactions they're having with it and what else you can do to improve. So I think a while ago, another PM on a different team made some sort of improvement on completely changed the way they were they were building a certain feature. It was supposed to be an improvement on the kind of feature that they had. But in the end, when he had an interaction with a group of customers, they were like, no, the new one, rather, we don't like it. Bring back our old thing. So imagine that you didn't go back for this feedback. And then if they say bring back our old thing, it will not be good as a PM to just listen to bring back our the old feature and also act on it and redo all that you've done. But as a PM, your job is to understand, okay, there might be something with this new one that is not working for them. And it's your job to go back and understand, is it training that will help? Is it introducing something else that will help? And how can we make sure that they are actually deriving the best from this feature? So as a PM, always ask for feedback from management, from customers, from your team. Make sure that everybody is in sync and you are really communicating as effectively as you would like to. I think that ends it for my presentation. We'll go on to take any questions and then maybe delve into some discussions if there are any. I think there was a question.
Okay, all right, guys. So you can go ahead and drop your questions or raise up your hands and ask your questions.
Somebody had a question about, did you say intercom is the way someone can take survey in app? I doubt I get the word correctly. Yes, so intercom is a way to do a survey in app. There are other tools as well, a lot of other tools. So it's not this thing to fixate on tools, but to fixate on the kind of results that you're looking at. Intercom is one way. You could use a lot of other different tools to gather feedback from customers and to know how they are using your app. More questions?
So guys, go ahead and ask your questions. If there are no questions within the next 2 minutes, Dorinda, you can go ahead and continue.
All right.
So there are no questions, so you can go ahead.
All right. So I think this is the end of my presentation. I was hoping for more of an interactive session at the end so that we could talk more and delve more into maybe some practical communication issues that you may have noticed, whether you've worked with PMs before or you are a PM yourself, what communication issues you've ever encountered, and maybe how we could make it better or how we could solve them. But in the absence of questions, I think in Wamaka, if there's no other thing that we're looking at, we could end here. Okay, someone had a question. But where do you draw the line in saying that a particular demand of the customer cannot be met or will be a benefit to the business? Right, thank you very much. I think that's a great question. So as a PM, you do have a product vision. That's the ultimate plan of where you think the product is going. That would have been informed by customer needs and then the business needs as well. So if you are going to listen to customers and say that maybe the customers are going to drive the kind of features that you're going to work on, it's important that you listen to them. But one of the first things you learn as a PM is to always say no. So first thing, if it's not in your roadmap or it's something that you're not looking at building immediately because it's not in your product vision or it's not in line with the business need, then it's something that you're going to say no to in the beginning. Now, you can go ahead to sort of try to understand the customer's needs and really get to the bottom of the problem. what problem are they trying to solve, instead of maybe looking at a feature that the customer says, okay, we need. The important thing you have to look at, what problem are they really trying to solve with this feature? And is there anything that we have currently that can actually solve that problem? If you don't have anything that can solve that problem, is it in our roadmap? Is it something that we are looking at building? If it is, and depending on the time that it is, then you say that, okay, then we can build it at this time and at this time for you. And you can manage expectations till then. But if it is something that the business is not looking at all, then you're going to have to say no, because if you always listen to customers to drive, especially when they come with features and not problems, to drive what you should be building as a product, sometimes you would end up building a lot of features. One is just for this set of this customer A, and then you build another feature for customer B, and the two customers are not even going to use the same features, or they are not going to be able to use those features together. So you find that you build a lot of features, you waste a lot of time building a lot of features that only a section of customers are using. And if you're building products, especially if you're not building custom products and you're building products for a lot of users, then that's not the way to go. So you need to be very firm in saying no. And if there's something else that can meet the customer's need, use that. If there's not, then you're just going to have to say no, and we cannot meet that need at this time. I hope I answered yes. So Mara says focus on problems and not features. Exactly. So you're focusing on the customer's problems. And if you should focus on the problem, sometimes you realize that there's something else that we even already have that can solve that problem. So what if people here are not working in products? Can you talk more about the tensions that come up working on all these things? How product managers down and up manage? So yes, as PMs, you would be working with, or even if you're not a product manager, let's say you are in sales, you're in marketing, you are in finance, you're in operations. All these are people who sort of interact with PMs at one time or the other. So as an engineer, as a marketer, or whatever department you may find yourself in, one way to maximize the PM is to make sure that you follow whatever they are doing and to understand the vision they have for the product. So as a salesperson, you want to make sure that you get a lot of information, even from the PM, to know the kind of value that you can communicate to to customers as a salesperson. As an engineer, in constantly talking with the PM can help you better understand what you are building, and also help you build better the things that you are building. So everybody can benefit from interacting with PMs. It's very essential that usually it's a PM's job to go out of their way to make sure that they engage all these people. Now, unfortunately, if you have a PM who maybe is not engaging everybody and bringing everybody on board, if you know the kind of value you're looking for getting from a PM, then you know that they are a very essential part of even you fulfilling your duties, and you need to reach out and make sure that you know what they are building for customers, you know what to expect from them, the kind of improvements or features they'll be building in the future, so that you can communicate that to customers, right? All right, somebody else has a question. Michael says, if the customer states its wants clearly, is the PM's job to find an underlying need. Exactly. So you as a PM need to find an underlying need or underlying problem for that feature or that product that they're asking for. Now, people always like to say, I want ABC. Sometimes in the end, you realize that it's not ABC they want. Because they really do not understand they really do not understand what they need to do to solve the problems that they have. So even sometimes as a PM, with some customers I've worked with, I could go to, currently I work with M-Pharma. I could go to a pharmacy, sit there, observe what they are doing, how they are interacting with our product, how they are interacting with their own customers. And that is when sometimes I get some of the needs or problems that we need to be solving for. If you ask them while sitting at home, they will tell you they need ABC. But sometimes you go and they realize that, no, in fact, it's another solution that will solve this problem. This is not what will solve it. So as a PM, you need to find an underlying problem for why anybody needs a certain feature. Without that, you just be building features that in the end might not really solve the problems that people have. Okay, I think that ends the questions that we have currently. Any other input? Anybody can make any contribution or anything.
So guys, if you have any contribution to make, go ahead and raise your hand and I will unmute you to speak. So give you just 2 minutes to do that. Meanwhile, I'll be dropping Dorinda's LinkedIn handle. So you can go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I'll be glad to help anybody who is looking to break into product management. Yeah, so you can just connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay, so I just dropped a handle for LinkedIn. So go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn. So if there are no questions, it is safe to say we can call it a night or an evening or a morning, depending on wherever you're on this call from. So I don't think there are any questions here.
All right.
So there are no questions, neither are any contributions. So thank you so much, Dorinda, for joining this call. It was an enlightening session.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to connecting to everybody in the coming days.
All right.
All right. So thank you, Mara.
All right. So thank you so much. So good night, everyone, or good day, whatever your time is.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right.